Prepared by Free Speech for People, petition for impeaching Trump 16 counts. Article 8. Unlawfully imposing tariffs in his conduct of the office of President of the United States, Donald John Trump, in violation of his constitutional oath faithfully to execute the office of President of the United States and, to the best of his ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States, and in violation of his constitutional duty to take care that the laws be faithfully executed, has engaged in a corrupt course of conduct that undermines the economic security of the United States, in that Donald John Trump has imposed a series of harmful tariffs on countries across the world with abrupt effective dates and then has paused, modified, rescinded, reimposed, increased, or exempting goods from certain of these tariffs. In imposing Executive Order 14,193, February 1, 2025, imposing 25% tariff on most imports from Canada and 10% tariff on energy resources, Exec. Order 14,194, February 1, 2025. Imposing 25% tariff on imports from Mexico, Exec. Order 14,195, imposing additional 10% tariff on most imports from China, Exec. Order 14,197, pausing implementation of Canadian tariff for 1 month, Exec. Order 14,198, pausing implementation of Mexican tariff for 1 month, Exec. Order 14,232, March 6, 2025, exempting goods covered by the U.S. Mexico-Canada Agreement, Exec. Order 14,228, March 3, 2025, raising new tariffs on China to 20%, Exec. Order 14,245, March 24, 2025, imposing 25% tariffs on goods imported from countries that import Venezuelan oil, Exec. Order 14,257, April 2, 2025, raising new tariffs on China to 34%, imposing 10% universal tariffs on all U.S. trading partners, and imposing tariffs of up to 50% on almost 90 countries, Exec. Order 14,259, April 8, 2025, raising new tariffs on China to 84%, Exec. Order 14,266, April 9, 2025, raising new tariffs. These tariffs, Donald John Trump has usurped powers explicitly reserved to Congress pursuant to U.S. Constable Article 1, Section 8, abused the President's limited power under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEPA, and violated multiple trade agreements. The tariffs have undermined the United States economy, harmed the United States' relationship with important trading partners, led to retaliatory tariffs, had devastating effects on stock and bond markets, crippled the economic security of Americans and American businesses, and created significant risk of economic recession. Furthermore, Trump has used and is positioned to continue using tariffs to corruptly benefit his and his allies' financial interests and entrench his political power, including by exempting certain industries from tariffs, imposing punitive tariffs, and abruptly imposing, modifying, and pausing tariffs in a manner that enables market manipulation by government officials and allies who used their advanced knowledge of executive orders to obtain improper financial gain. In all of this, Donald John Trump has acted in a manner contrary to his trust as president and subversive of constitutional government, to the great prejudice of the cause of law and justice and to the manifest injury of the people of China to 125%, pausing all other tariffs imposed by Exec. Order 14,257 for 90 days. The United States. Wherefore Donald John Trump, by such conduct, warrants impeachment and trial, and removal from office. Article 9. Receiving foreign and domestic emoluments in his conduct of the office of President of the United States, Donald John Trump, in violation of his constitutional oath. faithfully to execute the office of President of the United States and, to the best of his ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States, and in violation of his constitutional duty to take care that the laws be faithfully executed, has repeatedly misused his office for personal gain by accepting presents or emoluments from foreign kings, princes, and states without the consent of Congress, and by receiving or appropriating for himself emoluments from the United States and the several states in excess of the compensation provided by law, in that while in office, he made it his policy to retain beneficial ownership of, and has received substantial income from, the Trump Organization, the Trump Media and Technology Group, and his other diverse business interests. Since again taking the oath of office on January 20, 2025, Donald John Trump has through these businesses solicited, accepted, or received payments, contracts, permits, approvals, subsidies, and other financial benefits from foreign governments, from the United States, and from the several states. This conduct has included one or more of the following. 1. He has received a luxury jet worth approximately $400 million from the Qatari royal family for his personal use as Air Force One during his second term, and plans to transfer the plan to his presidential library for his personal use when he leaves office. The 13-year-old jet, which was owned and used by the Qatari royal family before being gifted to Trump, poses significant security concerns. The U.S. government will either bear the cost of retrofitting the aircraft to meet U.S. security standards, or Trump will have to waive due diligence requirements to the detriment of U.S. national security. 2. He received and is scheduled to receive substantial sums of money from expenditures by foreign governments at or on his privately owned properties in New York, Miami, Florida, and Palm Beach, Florida, including monthly fees collected from 5 foreign governments, Saudi Arabia, India, Afghanistan, Qatar, and Kuwait, that own units in Trump World Tower, and fees paid to Trump by LIV Golf, created and financed by the Saudi Arabian government, for use of Trump property in Miami, Florida. 3. He received substantial valuable benefits for his businesses in foreign countries, including trademarks, government permits and approvals, and financial support for building projects, from foreign governments. 4. He received and is scheduled to receive substantial sums of money from expenditures by foreign governments, the United States, or the several states, via their purchase of shares in Trump Media and Technology Group, TMTG, or via their purchase of advertisements on the TMTG-owned Truth social media platform. As of February 25, 2025, at least one bank controlled by a foreign government owns shares in Eric Lipton. Trump Organization issues ethics pledge for President-elect's second term. New York Times, January 10, 2025. The intensifying threat of Donald Trump's emoluments, Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, August 28, 2024. TMTG, as do several public pension plans operated by state governments. 5. He unlawfully receives compensation in the form of federal and state expenditures at or on his privately owned properties, including expenditures related to the protection of Trump and his family by the Secret Service and other government agencies. 6. He has enabled Elon Musk to unlawfully solicit, accept, or receive payments, contracts, permits, approvals, subsidies, and other financial benefits from foreign governments, from the United States, and from the several states via his position as special employee responsible for DOJ, where he exercises authority over the employment, actions, and data of agencies with which his companies contract. In all of this, Donald John Trump has acted in a manner contrary to his trust as president and subversive of constitutional government, to the great prejudice of the cause of law and justice and to the manifest injury of the people of Trump Media and Technology Group Corporation Common Stock, DJT, Institutional Holdings, NASDAQ, as of February 25, 2025. Eric Lipton, Trump Organization issues ethics pledge for president-elects. Second term, New York Times, January 10, 2025, the United States. Wherefore Donald John Trump, by such conduct, warrants impeachment and trial, and removal from office. Article 10. Unconstitutionally usurping state authority. In his conduct of the office of President of the United States, Donald John Trump, in violation of his constitutional oath faithfully to execute the office of President of the United States and, to the best of his ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States, and in violation of his constitutional duty to take care that the laws be faithfully executed, has prevented, obstructed, and impeded the administration of justice, in that Donald John Trump, using the powers of his high office, engaged personally and through his close subordinates and agents, in a course of conduct or plan designed to violate the power and authority vested in the states and the people by the 10th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. The means used to implement this course of conduct or plan included one or more of the following. 1. Misusing the power and office of the Department of Justice to bring an unlawful lawsuit against the state of Illinois for electing not to spend its own finite resources to perform federal immigration functions. 2. Threatening criminal and civil sanctions against state and local governments that do not elect to use their own resources to perform federal immigration functions. 3. Threatening to withhold congressionally appropriated funds from state and local jurisdictions that do not elect to use their own resources to perform federal immigration functions. In each instance, Trump has usurped or attempted to usurp the power afforded to states and local governments to determine how to utilize its own limited resources, including law enforcement, to serve the needs of their communities, and he has done so by misusing the Department of Justice to target U.S. v. Illinois, complaint, case number 25 CV 1285, filed February 6, 2025. Executive Order 14159, January 20, 2025, US. DOJ Office of the Deputy Attorney General Memorandum, Interim Policy Changes Regarding Charging, Sentencing, and Immigration Enforcement, January 21, 2025. Executive Order 14159, January 20, 2025, Certain States for Unlawful Criminal and Civil Suits. In all of this, Donald John Trump has acted in a manner contrary to his trust as president and subversive of constitutional government, to the great prejudice of the cause of law and justice and to the manifest injury of the people of the United States. Wherefore Donald John Trump, by such conduct, warrants impeachment and trial, and removal from office. Article 11. Improperly using emergency and wartime powers to mobilize U.S. armed forces against migrants, evade regulation of fossil fuel industry, deport immigrants, and impose tariffs on U.S. trading partners. In his conduct of the office of President of the United States, Donald John Trump, in violation of his constitutional oath faithfully to execute the office of President of the United States and, to the best of his ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States, and in violation of his constitutional duty to take care that the laws be faithfully executed, has engaged in a course of conduct that abuses the power to declare national emergencies and undermines the rule of law, in that 1. He improperly declared immigration at the southern border of the United States to be a national emergency and asserted that migration constitutes an invasion, so as to order the mobilization of armed forces within the United States and at its borders. Migration is not an invasion, the United States is not at war, and as of January 14, 2025, unlawful migration was at its lowest level since August 2020 and lower than the monthly average for 2019.47. To support his misuse of the national emergency power in the U.S. military, he made or caused to be made false or misleading assertions in his executive order and in public statements for the purpose of deceiving the people of the United States into believing the existence of an urgent national Security threat. 2. He improperly declared a national energy emergency pursuant to the National Emergencies Act, 50 U.S.C. Executive Order 14167, January 20, 2025, CBP releases December 2024 monthly update, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, January 14, 2025. 1601 ET Seek. And 3 U.S.C. Section 301-48 when the United States is producing an historically high and reliable level of energy, in order to evade regulatory limits on fossil fuel development and to block the development of renewable energy sources. Under cover of the emergency, Trump is providing significant benefits to oil, gas, and coal companies in a manner that undermines the long-term stability of the U.S. energy grid and harms the American people. 3. He unlawfully invoked the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 in order to deport Venezuelans from the United States to El Salvador for immediate detention without adhering to U.S. laws governing the removal of non-citizens. The Alien Enemies Act may only be invoked in limited circumstances, including declared war, invasion, or predatory incursion by a foreign government.
PIMDEG US, CCH.
3 Section 21. The Venezuelan Executive Order 14156, January 20, 2025, see Joint Letter of Attorneys General to Chairman Mike Lee and Ranking Member Maren Heinrich of the U.S. Senate Committee on Energy and National Resources, February 18, 2025, urging the committee to support S.John Res. 10 to terminate the national energy emergency declared in Executive Order 14156. The White House, invocation of the Alien Enemies Act regarding the invasion of the United States by Tren de Aragua, March 15, 2025. Government has not declared war on the United States, nor has it attempted to invade or incur on U.S. territory, and Congress has not declared war on Venezuela. In full knowledge that the terms for invoking the act have not been satisfied, Trump abused his authority to unlawfully invoke the act to deport Venezuelans migrants to El Salvador, where they are being held in prison without trial or hearing by either government on the unproven assertion by Trump that they are members of a criminal gang. At least some of the imprisoned Venezuelans have credible claims for asylum, have no prison records or affiliation with gangs, and came to the United States to escape political and economic oppression. 4. He has unlawfully invoked the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEPA, to claim that persistent trade deficits and the trafficking of drugs and persons qualify as a national emergency that empowers him to unilaterally impose tariffs on countries across the world. The IEPA does not JGG via Trump, Memorandum of Law in support of plaintiff's motion for temporary restraining order, Case number 25-76, March 15, 2025, Sylvia Fosterfrau, 44 Venezuelan Friends, Alien Enemies Act cuts short an American Dream, Washington Post, March 18, 2025, authorized the President to impose tariffs, a power solely afforded to Congress by the U.S. Constitution even when an emergency exists. The power to impose tariffs is not amongst the enumerated powers of the President under the IEPA, see 50 U.S.C. Section 1702. Moreover, the President also failed to abide by the IEPA requirement that the President, in every possible instance, consult with Congress before exercising any of the authorities granted by the IEPA, and consult regularly with the Congress so long as such authorities are exercised. 50 U.S.C. Section 1703, A. The myriad tariffs that he has unlawfully imposed have crippled the U.S. economy, led to escalating retaliatory tariffs from trading partners, resulted in massive losses in the stock and bond markets, and harmed the economic security of Americans while enriching and benefiting certain sectors, investors, and allies of the President. In all of this, Donald John Trump has acted in a manner contrary to his trust as President and subversive of constitutional government, to the great prejudice of the cause of law and justice and to the manifest injury of the people of the United States. Wherefore Donald John Trump, by such conduct, warrants impeachment and trial, and removal from office. Article 12. Abusing the pardon power through the broad pardon of January 6 co-insurrectionists. In his conduct of the office of President of the United States, Donald John Trump, in violation of his constitutional oath faithfully to execute the office of President of the United States and, to the best of his ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States, and in violation of his constitutional duty to take care that the laws be faithfully executed, has abused the pardon power and undermined due process of law, in that 1. He granted full, complete and unconditional pardons to more than 1,500 co-insurrectionists who participated in the assault on the Capitol on January 6, 2021 and commuted the sentences of additional insurrectionists, all of whom participated in the January 6, 2021 insurrection which Trump himself incited. Pardons or sentence commutations were granted to insurrectionists who breached the U.S. Capitol, vandalized the Capitol and individual offices, committed violence against law enforcement and journalists, and orchestrated the violent insurrection, including to insurrectionists found guilty of seditious conspiracy. 52 The pardons have been broadly applied to other crimes committed by the insurrectionists, including possession of grenades and other unlawful weapons and a classified military document. 2. He directed the DOJ to dismiss all criminal cases pending against defendants charged with crimes stemming from the assault on the Capitol. 3. He fired FBI agents and approximately 24 DOJ prosecutors, all of whom were nonpartisan career public servants, who investigated or prosecuted criminal cases stemming from the January 6, 2021 Kerry Johnson. Trump offers long-promised pardons to some 1,500 January rioters, NPR, January 20, 2025, Alan Feuer. Trump grants sweeping clemency to all January 6 rioters, New York Times, January 20, 2025, Kyle Cheney. DOJ says Trump's January 6 pardon covers man convicted of possessing grenades, classified. Info, Politico, February 25, 2025. For 4 years, impartial, nonpartisan investigators and prosecutors carried out meticulous investigations in the events of and surrounding January 6, compiling incontrovertible evidence regarding the crimes committed that day and their perpetrators. These crimes include the violent assault of 140 law enforcement officers with bear spray, axes, baseball bats, and flagpoles wielded as weapons. One law enforcement official suffered 2 strokes and died after being sprayed with pepper spray, another suffered a heart attack and traumatic brain injury. More than 140 law enforcement officers were injured while they protected members of Congress, their staff, the Vice President, and the Capitol itself from an insurrectionist mob. January 6 related criminal cases were presided over by nonpartisan, impartial judges and, where defendants did not plead guilty, given over to impartial juries of the defendants' peers for final determination of the facts. The issuance of blanket pardons, the dismissal of pending January 6 cases, and the retributive termination of FBI and DOJ employees for carrying out their duties has undermined the independence of the FBI, the DOJ, and to the judiciary. It has undermined efforts by multiple agencies to address and prevent violent extremism. Moreover, by blocking the DOJ from prosecuting ongoing cases and by blocking courts from hearing these cases, Trump protects himself from facts and allegations relating to his own role in the January 6 insurrection. In all of this, Donald John Trump has acted in a manner contrary to his trust as president and subversive of constitutional government, to the great prejudice of the cause of law and justice and to the manifest injury of the people of the United States. Wherefore Donald John Trump, by such conduct, warrants impeachment and trial, and removal from office. Article 13. corruptly dismissing criminal charges against Eric Adams and investigating DOJ officials based on retribution in his conduct of the office of President of the United States, Donald John Trump, in violation of his constitutional oath faithfully to execute the office of President of the United States and, to the best of his ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States, and in violation of his constitutional duty to take care that the laws be faithfully executed, has prevented, obstructed, and impeded the administration of justice, in that 1. He failed to take care that the laws were faithfully executed by entering into a corrupt quid pro quo agreement with New York City Mayor Eric Adams, in which the DOJ improperly dismissed a criminal indictment against Adams in return for his assistance in enforcing his federal immigration agenda. 54 When the U.S. attorney charged with prosecuting the case resigned rather than file the motion to dismiss as she was ordered to do, she explained that dismissal is not in the public interest or consistent with the principles of impartiality and fairness, and that dismissal for no other reason than to influence Adams's mayoral 54C letter from Danielle Sassoon to Attorney Gen.
Pamela Bondi, Februar
12, 2025. William K. Rashbaum push to drop Adams' charges reveals a Justice Department. Under Trump's sway, February 10, 2025, Benjamin Weiser et al., a Justice Department in turmoil moves to dismiss Eric Adams's corruption case. New York Times, February 14, 2025. Decision-making would be an abuse of the criminal justice process, coercive behavior, and other forms of misconduct. 2. For purposes unrelated to any lawful function of his office, he misused his official position to retaliate against the U.S. attorney who resigned rather than file a motion to dismiss Adams' case and against other U.S. attorneys assigned to the Adams prosecution. Through Assistant Attorney General Emil Bove, he has ordered these attorneys to be investigated by the Office of the Attorney General and the Office of Professional Responsibility, and those attorneys who did not resign have been placed on off-duty, administrative leave pending investigation. In all of this, Donald John Trump has acted in a manner contrary to his trust as president and subversive of constitutional government, to the great prejudice of the cause of law and justice and to the manifest injury of the people of the United States. Wherefore Donald John Trump, by such conduct, warrants impeachment and trial, and removal from office. Article 14. Depriving citizens of their birthright citizenship and his conduct of the office of President of the United States, Donald John Trump, in violation of his constitutional oath, faithfully to execute the office of President of the United States and, to the best of his ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States, and in violation of his constitutional duty to take care that the laws be faithfully executed, has engaged in a course of conduct that violates and undermines the citizenship by birthright guaranteed by the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, in that he has denied the privilege of United States citizenship to persons born in the United States to certain Americans based solely on the citizenship or visa status of their parents, in violation of Section 1 of the 14th Amendment. The protection of citizenship extended to all individuals born in the United States is enshrined in the U.S. Constitution and unassailable, as are the rights of these citizens to all privileges and immunities of citizens. By attempting to deprive U.S. citizens of citizenship, privileges, and immunities afforded to them by the U.S. Constitution, Donald John Trump has acted in a manner contrary to his trust as president and subversive of constitutional government, to the great prejudice of the cause of law and justice and to the manifest injury of the people of the United States. Wherefore Donald John Trump, by such conduct, warrants impeachment and trial, and removal from office. Article 15. Impeding and obstructing efforts to secure United States elections and protect against cyber attacks in his conduct of the office of President of the United States, Donald John Trump, in violation of his constitutional oath faithfully to execute the office of President of the United States and, to the best of his ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States, and in violation of his constitutional duty to take care that the laws be faithfully executed, has prevented, obstructed, and impeded the administration of justice, in that Donald John Trump, using the powers of his high office, engaged personally and through his close subordinates and agents, in a course of conduct or plan designed to impede and obstruct efforts to secure U.S. elections. The means used to implement this course of conduct or plan included one or more of the following. 1. He has ordered the Apolitical Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, to halt all its election security work pending a review of its work assisting state and local officials to secure their elections and combat disinformation over the past 8 years, blocked funding for a group committed to coordinating election security efforts in the elections community, and fired 130 CISA cybersecurity professionals, 57 thereby harming national security and undermining key coordination efforts between election. Eric Geller, top U.S. election security watchdog, forced to stop election security work, Wired.com, February 14, 2025, see 6 U.S.C. Section 652, c.e., identifying responsibilities of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. 2. Through Attorney General Pam Bondi, he has disbanded the FBI task force assigned to investigate unlawful foreign influence in U.S. politics and elections, which investigated influence originating from Russia, China, Iran, and other foreign governments. 3. He has blocked CISA and the FBI from investigating and responding swiftly to interference in U.S. election systems or foreign government misinformation campaigns, despite knowing about, benefiting from, or participating in actions that leave U.S. elections uniquely vulnerable to foreign and domestic threats. Namely, a Russian interference in the 2016 election was sweeping and systematic, and foreign entities carried out information warfare via social media. 58 Pal Barker, firing of 130 CISA staff worries cybersecurity industry, CSO, February 21, 2025, Rebecca Beach, DOJ disbands Foreign Influence Task Force, unit tasked with seizing Russian oligarchs' asset, The Hill, February 7, 2025, Hussein and Eric Tucker, Trump's Justice Department ends Biden-era task force aimed at seizing assets of Russian oligarchs, AP News, February 6, 2025, Ollie Swenson and Christina A. Cassidy, dismantling of federal efforts to monitor election interference creates opening for foreign meddling, AP News, February 16, 2025. Using misinformation campaigns that benefited and in some cases coordinated with Trump's own campaign. 61 Our nation's intelligence agencies concluded with high confidence that Russia carried out a multifaceted assault on the 2016 election, featuring disclosure of data obtained through Russian cyber operations, intrusions into U.S. state and local electoral boards, and overt propaganda, which was aimed at undermining public faith in the U.S. democratic process. Russia, Iran, and China continue to attempt to influence U.S. elections. To interfere in U.S. elections have continued, via hacking, including efforts by Iranian-linked hackers to target individuals tied to all three major 2024 candidates, Trump, Biden, and Harris, and utilizing artificial intelligence and social media to spread foreign government propaganda and disinformation, including by Special Counsel Robert S. Mueller. 3. Report on the investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election, U.S. Department of Justice, Volume 1, March. Mueller. 3. Report on the investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election, U.S. Department of Justice, Volume 2, March 2019, Russia's influence campaign targeting the 2016 U.S. presidential election, Office of the Director of National Intelligence, ICA 2017-01D, January 6, 2017. Placing blame for the Russian invasion of Ukraine on Ukraine. The election officials and operatives in 8 U.S. locales across the country associated with efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 election, some of whom have close ties with Trump, have unlawfully breached voting systems and obtained copies of voting machine software and other sensitive data. The software and data have been shared with a wide network of other parties, any of whom might use their illegitimate access to develop ways to exploit the software, thereby undermining the security of our election systems. These systems are still being used in these and see United States vs. Kalashnikov, sealed indictment, case number 24 CR 519, SDNY September 4, 2024. Shannon Bond, Meta takes down more accounts tied to Iranian hackers targeting the U.S. elections. NPR, August 23, 2024. Ellen Nakashima, Russia's election influence efforts show sophistication, officials say. Washington Post, September 7, 2024. David Nakamura et al., Justice Department charges 2 Russian media operatives in alleged scheme. Washington Post, September 4, 2024. Alexandra Ulmer and Nathan Lane, Trump allies, breach U.S. voting systems in search of 2020 fraud evidence. Reuters, April 28, 2022. Other counties and states. As president of a country facing an unprecedented threat of foreign and domestic interference in U.S. elections and in receipt of incontrovertible proof that foreign and domestic entities have the resources, tools, and capacity to hack our election systems and the email systems of high-level officials, and to spread disinformation and propaganda via social media platforms, Trump has terminated cybersecurity experts and ceased the functioning of an agency committed to protecting our country's cybersecurity and U.S. elections from cyber attacks, and has undermined the capacity and independence of the FBI and DOJ to investigate and prosecute cybersecurity attacks and other incursions by foreign entities into U.S. elections. In all of this, Donald John Trump has acted in a manner contrary to his trust as president and subversive of constitutional government, to the great prejudice of the cause of law and justice and to the manifest injury of the people of the United States. Wherefore Donald John Trump, by such conduct, warrants impeachment and trial, and removal from office. Article 16. Planning the forced removal of Palestinians from Gaza. In his conduct of the office of President of the United States, Donald John Trump, in violation of his constitutional oath faithfully to execute the office of President of the United States and, to the best of his ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States, and in violation of his constitutional duty to take care that the laws be faithfully executed, has repeatedly misused his official position to threaten and promote the forced removal of Palestinians from Palestine and the commission of crimes against humanity and war crimes against Palestinian civilians. Donald John Trump has repeatedly declared his intention to unlawfully and forcibly displace Palestinians from Gaza and for the United States to unlawfully occupy the land and financially profit from its development. In addition to public statements via social media and the press, he has pressed this policy in official engagement with heads of state in the Middle East, namely by announcing his plan during a meeting and press conference with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and by pushing King Abdullah II of Jordan to commit to taking in forcibly displaced Palestinians. These statements include telling reporters on January 26 on Air Force One that Palestinians should be moved to other countries to just clean out their homelands. Stating on February 4, 2025 that I don't think people should be going back to Gaza. I heard that Gaza has been very unlucky for them. They live like hell. They live like they're living in hell. Gaza is not a place for people to be living. In a joint press conference with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on February 4, 2025, stating that the U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip and will do a job with it too, that the U.S. will own it and did not rule out the U.S. of military troops, instead stating that as far as Gaza is concerned, we'll do what is necessary. If it's necessary, we'll do that. We're going to take over that piece and we're going to develop it. On February 4, also describing Palestine as a new Riviera. posting to his Truth Social site on February 6 that the Gaza Strip would be turned over to the United States by Israel at the conclusion of fighting. The U.S., working with great development teams from all over the world, would slowly and carefully begin the construction of what would become one of the greatest and most spectacular developments of its kind on Earth. Telling reporters on February 9, 2025, that it's a big mistake to allow people, the Palestinians, or the people living in Gaza, to go back yet another time, and we don't want Hamas going back. And think of it as a big real estate site, and the United States is going to own it and will slowly, very slowly, we're in no rush, develop it. In an interview with Fox News Channel that aired on February 10, 2025, denying that Palestinians would have the right to return to Gaza after he removes them, specifically when asked whether Palestinians would have the right to return to Gaza, answering, "No, they wouldn't because they're going to have much better housing. I'm talking about building a permanent place for them." In a meeting with King Abdullah II of Jordan on February 11, 2025, Donald John Trump stated that after talks with Middle Eastern countries that he intends to have a parcel of land in Jordan, a parcel of land in Egypt, we may have someplace else, where they'll live very happily. Donald John Trump is threatening to commit or order the commission of war crimes under international treaties to which the United States is a party and under U.S. law. Article 49 of the Geneva Convention relative to the protection of civilian persons in time of war, the Fourth Geneva Convention, prohibits individual or mass forcible transfers, as well as deportations of protected persons from occupied territory to the territory of the occupying power or to that of any other country, occupied or not, regardless of their motive. The unlawful deportation, transfer, or unlawful confinement of protected persons is a grave breach, under the terms of the Fourth Geneva Convention, Article 147, and therefore qualifies as a felony offense under the U.S. War Crimes Statute, 18 U.S.C. Section 2441. While endorsing the forcible deportation of Palestine from Gaza, Trump also has imposed baseless sanctions against International Criminal Court Chief Prosecutor Karim Khan and threatened to impose additional sanctions against ICC personnel. The order undermines the ICC's ability to investigate and prosecution of war crimes around the world and serves no purpose but to protect himself and his complicit allies from the consequences of committing war crimes and crimes against humanity in Palestine. Wherefore Donald John Trump, by such conduct, warrants impeachment and trial, and removal from office.